Hey there, IT 140 students. So in this recording, we're going to talk about the details for Project 2. So you're already very familiar with this. I'm going to scroll down here. So we already know that we are creating our text-based game, and we should have a nice menu that describes all the action. In my template, I did not put some of this, so you'll need to make sure that you implement this functionality. What I do give you is the main uh, implementation of the game. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about here. Now, they've updated our dictionary. So last time for Module 6, we just traversed the rooms that were available in our dictionary. Here you can see that in some of the rooms, for instance, the bedroom right here, they've added an additional key for the item. So they've got the item armor here. The cellar has an item, that's the helmet. The dining room has the item, and that's the dragon. So that would be our villain here. So that would be a good way to implement this right here. If you want to use a key of like villain, that's fine, but I'm just going to implement it with the item key right there. Again, they give you some sample status from the Dragon Text game, where you are, what your current inventory is. If there's an object, then, we see it, and we should provide an option for them to pick it up. So I'll run through that here in a second in my demo. You can see later on in an example, so you're in the gallery and here's your current inventory, and then again, enter your move. So as I was looking at some of the Module 6 assignments, some of you for Enter Your Move were providing the directions that you can go from the rooms, and you shouldn't be doing that. You should only be looking in the dictionary to see if those are valid. So there should not be any, these are the directions you can move from here. The user should completely figure that out as they play the game. Okay, so again, they kind of walk through here, so they give you some cues on, what should happen when you, move between rooms and so forth. They do point out here, make sure that any input typed in from the user is validated, and you'll see how I do that in the template here. And again, this continues to loop, going to the different rooms, acquiring items until they've either won or lost. So they win by having all of the items before encountering the villain. Otherwise, if they encounter the villain without collecting all the items, then they lose. And again, you can type out, however you want to display, you win or, you lose. Okay. So let's talk about the template here. And so what I've done is I've actually taken the previous template and started that as the base of the project. So you do the exact same thing. And then I've added a couple things. So first thing is I added an item key called item. Remember, we have a dictionary. So item is going to be a key in that dictionary. So I'm treating that as a constant variable. There's also a villain. In this case, it was the dragon. So you can see that I am then referencing the villain right there. For this implementation, I did provide a valid direction. So north, south, east, and west. And then just like before, we still had a direction. We still had a current room. I did add items count. So we are expecting them to get 6 items in this implementation. So this will be something that I compare against later. And then we need a list of our inventory. So declare a list that's going to hold the inventory as we progress through the game. So we are going to be looping until exit is entered. So some of you are trying to use while true. Do not do that. It's going to get dinged because that means I have to come down inside the body of the loop and figure out where in the world you have a break statement in order to exit out of the loop. And then I have to be able to figure out all the logic to get down there that actually exits out of the loop. So our loop condition should be we are looping until exit is entered. So I know it's direction, we could have put it as something like user input, but direction's fine for this. So new thing here, we're going to print the current inventory. So you have the list right here. So we want to print out our list right here. Same directions as before, enter a direction or exit to quit. And then we have to get the direction from the user. Just like before, we're going to check if exit was entered. And then something that's new is it a valid direction? So is it one of these values right here? So we should know how to determine whether or not something is in this list. And then, is it a valid direction for this room? So can we move in the current room here? Otherwise, this is the same code as last time. We set the next room. We do a print where we're going to move to the next room. And then we reassign current room to B. And keep in mind, it's going to be similar notation. You're going to have rooms and then the name of the room right here. Now, something that is different is you do need to handle the inventory right here. So right here, this is going to handle all of the inventory needs. So first thing you have to do is check to see if the key is in the current room. So remember, the key is item. So we have to check if the key is in the current room. If so, we go grab it. You definitely want to check if the item is the villain. You have to handle the villain properly. Again, I'm leaving this all up to you if you want to get a full A. Otherwise, we have to check if the item is currently in our inventory. Okay, so we want to check to make sure that that it's in the inventory. We're going to validate the user choice, use some kind of loop to do that. Add the item to the inventory, and then you should delete the item key from that current room. So you can search that in Zybooks, how to delete a key from the dictionary, but we should delete, once we've picked this up, we should not have this anymore. So that way, when we come back in next time into that room again, possibly, we don't have that item available to us. Now, I do have some printing statements here. So if I line these up, so we're looping until exit is entered. So this print is the fact that we've exited out. This print right here, this is not a valid direction, goes here. So you would need to trace up and identify what is the appropriate error message based on this if condition. And then same thing here. What is the appropriate error message? Or maybe not necessarily an error message, but what's the appropriate message to display for these cases? So here's a sample run that we have going on. Again, you can see that I copied the rooms. Keep in mind, this doesn't have all of the rooms defined in all the directions. So I'm just going to go where I know things work. So I know I can go south to the bedroom, and there should be armor in there. So if I go south, yep, there's the bedroom. It's got armor. I'll type in gibberish. So it's going to continue looping, asking me to type in something valid. So I'll type in yes. So I picked up the armor. So my current inventory is the armor. Let's go back up to the Great Hall. So that's a north. Oops, north. And let's go back down into the bedroom here, right? And we should see that there's no item in there. So look, no item in this room because I already picked it up, okay? So this is how the gameplay should go. Again, if I type in an invalid direction, we get prompted again. So, these are going to be using loops to perform that action. So let's talk about the grading rubric. So if I scroll down here, so you do need to create some functions to help organize your code. So if you want to get 100% of the points on that, not only do you need that show menu code, but you should also implement some kind of function for functionality down here. I'm going to leave that up to you. I would first get this functional, then come back and refactor it to use a function or functions. You have to have a dictionary, so it has to use the dictionary throughout. The gameplay loop, again, I've already given you the details for that, so you should not miss any points on that. You have to make function calls. You have to have decision branches. Again, I've already kind of given you all the code for that, so that shouldn't be any issue. And again, you do need to input any validation. You need to validate any input. So anything that the user types in needs to be validated. Your code should work. And then industry standard best practices, make sure that everything follows the coding guidelines announcement that is posted in the class announcements, okay? So I think this template, this should be very beneficial to you. As always, as you're working, if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. All right, I'll talk to you next time.